What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna make some tiramisu. Now this kind of stemmed from a few videos back. We had picked up tiramisu Oreos, which I have right here. So we tried those Oreos. Then I tried a recipe from the Munchies cookbook. It was a Nutella bourbon tiramisu, and that was good. And they kind of really made me crave actual tiramisu. And being that I spent years making tiramisu in the past, what better an opportunity than to bring it to the channel here, show you my technique. Now in the last video, I gave you guys a way to get a printable version of my recipe. And I'll leave it in the link below in case you don't want to jot all this stuff down. Today we're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna go through the ingredients. As I mentioned, classic tiramisu, the original recipe, is built around a cream made from mascarpone cheese and eggs that are whipped in a certain way. I have here half a dozen eggs, and I have 8 ounces of mascarpone cheese. Notice that's quite a bit. So this is the bulk of the mass of the tiramisu. Another ingredient is ladyfinger cookies. Now these, if you peel the sticker off of it, it's actually a very interesting packaging. It turns out these are Facebook brand Savoiardi.
Savoiardi.
I don't know. Even better, on the inside, there's a recipe for no fuss tiramisu, and it calls for 8 ounces of cream cheese, amaretto liqueur, 3 cups of whipped topping, and espresso and all that stuff. And it basically you mix all this stuff up, and this is about as much liberty as you could take with tiramisu. It's amazing they still even call for ladyfinger cookies in it. I guess that's because that's what they're selling here. I couldn't find the harder, longer ladyfinger cookies at the store, so I had to kind of settle for these. Ladyfingers are probably the least exciting cookies on the planet. They're very neutral, they have very little taste, so everything we're gonna do today is gonna be to help elevate the flavor of this dessert, using the ladyfingers kind of as a medium to soak up everything else. I prefer the imported ones that are harder. Facebook's version will be just fine today. Other ingredients you need are sugar and a liqueur of some sort. I have this Jameson cold brew whiskey that I'm going to use along with my own cold brew. Cold brew is one of the first videos I tackled on the channel here. You could check that out in the cards, and I'll leave it in the description below. The original tiramisu calls for espresso coffee, but in my opinion, cold brew is A, easier to make, B, just as concentrated, and C, more flavorful than espresso coffee from that regard. Might even have a little bit more caffeine in it. But I could fire up the espresso machine, and see, I got it right there. I could fire up the machine and make up some espresso if I really needed to. I don't want to go that route today, so we're gonna do this cold brew whiskey, which has some infusion of coffee already. I like to use Kahlua in general, but I'm gonna try the whiskey today just because why not? People have used amaretto, sambuca, if you like kind of more of an anise twist. Even things like rum or kind of the sweeter spirits are kind of better in this dessert. I'm gonna probably amp up the booze a little bit in mine today. That's just because it's mine. The build is pretty simple. You separate your eggs. You're gonna whisk up the whites into stiff peaks and add a little bit of sugar. You're gonna whisk up the yolks separately along with the mascarpone cheese, a little bit more sugar. So as far as this whisking, you can do it by hand. It's gonna take a long time if you do that. I've done that in the past and it is not pretty. I like to use a hand mixer for that, but today I'm actually gonna go even further. I'm gonna use my KitchenAid mixer just because it gets the job done so much quicker. We'll make up our coffee, which is basically a 50-50 mixture of cold brew with liqueur. Then you're basically like you're making a lasagna. You put your cream, you put your soaked cookies, you put more cream, soaked cookies, more cream, and then at the top you dust it with the chocolate. That's it, guys. So luckily I have 2 mixing bowls, so I can actually do this pretty efficiently. So what I'm gonna do is separate my eggs. The fresher your eggs when you do this, the better, for a lot of reasons. This step is a little tricky. So once you have your whites and yolks separated, definitely visually inspect your whites and make sure there's no yolk in there, because that'll make it difficult to actually build stiff peaks. It looks like I got a little bit. Any fat you have in there is gonna make it hard to whip up. So that looks pretty good right now. I'm gonna throw this on here and whisk it up to stiff peaks and then add a little bit of sugar to kind of make kind of a meringue. Now with the yolks, It's okay if you have a little bit of white in this because we're gonna beat this till it's pale. So start at the low setting when you do this. And as you start to work some air into it, you can see in there, once it gets to kind of that point where everything's incorporated, you could add your sugar. So now I'm gonna add about 1/4 of a cup at this point. And then jack up our mixer. Now to test if it's ready, you want to lift up your whisk and you should see stiff peaks. That's still a little soft. So I'm going to go a little more. When you lift the whisk, it should be nice and stiff. So that's kind of what you're looking for, that the peaks kind of stay on their own a little bit. So this part is done. For the next part, I don't even bother cleaning the whisk because it doesn't matter if you have some whites in this part. I have my yolks here right now, and the idea is to beat them until they're nice and pale. So once it's nice and thick and it's lost all of its color, just like that, it could still be a little bit runny just like that because this is never gonna thicken up fully. Now you can add in your mascarpone and your sugar. Now I let this mascarpone come to room temperature. It just makes it easier to work with. When it's cold, it'll just put a lot of strain on your mixer and take a little longer to mix in. Mascarpone is essentially a fancy cream cheese, Italian imported cream cheese. You could find domestic mascarpones. Actually, Vermont Creamery makes a delicious mascarpone. And now the remainder of the sugar. Again, I put a little less than 1/4 cup this time. What do you think is next? We mix. That was pretty quick. So at this point, you could see that's super thick, and it's almost white. It just has a slight pale yellow tint to it. So now, what we're gonna do is marry together our yolk and mascarpone mixture along with our egg whites. This part is a little delicate, so I'll show you how we do that. Now I'm gonna use this bowl to mix into because it's actually better to mix the whites into this rather than this into the whites because you wanna incorporate the whites nice and slowly. You can see it's nice and thick. It's not even falling off the spatula. So we have our egg whites, still stiff peaks. The beauty of using the KitchenAid is that you could do this pretty quickly. If you do this by hand, you'll want to refrigerate these egg whites because they will deflate. I'm going to take about 1/3 of the egg whites. Those stupid Oreos out of here. And then you want to fold these in. This is supposed to be a nice light airy cream. Another 1/3. And then the remainder. Our tiramisu cream is ready. I'll just lift it up and show you guys. You can see it nice and airy. You can almost, if you blow on it, it'll probably deflate on you. And you can see it sticks to the spatula, but doesn't fall right off. Now, this is white. It's got a very, very minor yellow tint to it because we used egg yolks. Some recipes you find are gonna use heavy cream. You saw the recipe I unpacked here. It uses cream cheese. And interestingly, Belgioso comes with a recipe on the side, and it's very similar to the recipe I'm giving you here. The proportion of eggs is a little bit different in theirs. This is as close to an authentic tiramisu on this container as you can get, as opposed to the Ladyfingers, which gave us the least authentic you can get. Go figure. Just one more step. We have to blend our coffee with our cold brew, and then we're gonna build this tiramisu. How we doing, guys? Following along? Good. So we got our cream. We got our Ladyfingers. I said I'm gonna probably amp up the alcohol here. I'm gonna go with about 1/2 cup of that. And this, you can eyeball it. I would say you probably want, for this amount of cookies, probably about a cup total of liquid. This is my cold brew coffee. can baby whisk that. All right, now we're ready to build tiramisu. First things first, I gotta make a kid version of it. We'll go in with a little cream. We'll put a little cake. Cream. There we go. I think Noah's gonna enjoy that one. Next, we need to build a taster. So I'm gonna go in with a little cream. Soak it. Now you don't want to go very long in this coffee because these will fall apart really pretty quickly. So go in with our coffee soaked thing. A little more. Two at the same time. You see it? Even that quick second, they just fell apart on me. All right, so there we go. All right, this is the taster for you and me. Now to make it look nice, you level it out, nice, nicey, and there we go. There's a taster. So I would say build it in a clear dish, just so that when you bring this out and put it on the table, people could see it in all of its glory. You could also build it in a bigger dish, like if you're making a larger amount of tiramisu, I would say you can build it in something that isn't see-through and lift up slices like lasagna. Like you saw, I even built it in a glass. So you could do whatever, make a parfait, it doesn't matter. It's gonna taste amazing. I'm gonna go in with some cream. I like to have the bottom layer be cream so that the lady fingers don't stick. And let's see if we could do this. This is kind of the fun part. You can kind of make it your own. You can even line these up around. I should have done that actually. Oh well, next time. I actually might have underestimated the amount of coffee and liqueur needed here. And to that effect, I'm gonna make some more. Go in with some cream. This is where you want to eyeball it. You just want a thin layer. So I like to use these offset spatulas. You could use a spoon. You could see nice and even there. And then we continue. I like to stack them on top of each other. That's just my own preference. You can go crosswise. You can make this your own. Where you can get cute with this is, and this is kind of an insider restaurant secret, in the middle layers you could put some kind of like pound cake or something else if you're really trying to take some shortcuts. I've even done this with Twinkies, as I mentioned in the last video, because this cake, I'll show you. I mean, this is a Twinkie. There's no two ways about it, okay? It honestly has less taste than a Twinkie. Don't worry about using something else. Vanilla wafers would work fine in this too. I'm gonna throw on the last layer. All right, last layer of cookies and coffee is on. So now go on with the remainder of the cream. Last step is just to even it out. This is where the experience comes in. You can see I got this leveled all the way out to the edge. Actually, I always forget this, the chocolate. I gotta do the chocolate stuff. What I like to do is bring all my containers nice and close together, get a nice square dark chocolate, and just great. You're gonna make a mess when you do this, so don't even bother worrying about it. That's about all I want on the chocolate. This is not a chocolate heavy dessert. You're supposed to taste the mascarpone cream and the coffee. That's basically the flavor that you should be getting. So that's it, we are done. I'm gonna actually put these in the refrigerator for a little while so that everything kind of gets a little chance to marry together. Because you have that cream that has some air to it and also some moisture, and you have the coffee with the cookies, everything's gonna kind of soak in together, and it always benefits from a little bit of time. So I'm gonna let this sit, I would say at least 4 hours. So this is something you make the morning that your guests are coming. I wouldn't let it sit too long in the refrigerator, maybe a day, if that, just because it is raw eggs. Let's let it sit and we'll come back and we'll try it. All right guys, it's been a few hours and I can't wait to taste this tiramisu, so let's dig right in. So nice and light and airy. It's got the layers. You can see the layers in the cup right there. And actually, if you knock into it with the spoon, it deflates a little bit. That's what you want to see. So that you don't want to go in and mix this up like a pudding. So look at that. Amazing. Let's taste it. Really good. So I'm kind of glad that I went with the levels I did on the alcohol and the coffee. You definitely get a nice hit of booziness to it, but you still taste the coffee, and the lightness of the cream kind of helps to mellow everything out. Doesn't taste like cocoa at all. Very good. I probably went a little too heavy on the booze, to be honest. We're adults, right? Guys, you have no idea how much I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching this video, checking out this recipe, enjoying tiramisu with me. For that printed recipe, definitely shoot me a DM. I will send it to you. I hope that you make this. Be sure to give this video a like and comment down below if you have any good tiramisu tips, or if you've had a good tiramisu in the past. I'd love to hear about your experiences with that. And make sure you're subscribed. I have more videos coming, and I don't stop working on these things. So more recipes are on the way. Let me know in the comments if there's something that you want to see, because we're going full force with this. Thanks for joining me on this ride, guys. It's amazing. I hope you guys have a great day, and go make some tiramisu.